Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about the ureters, the bladder, and the urethra in this video. So we just finished talking about the kidneys. The kidneys are the major organ of the urinary system, but they only do part of the job. Without the ureters, the bladder, and the kidney and the urethra, we wouldn't be able to get rid of the urine. So the ureters are slender, smooth muscle tubes that extend from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. We have a ureter for each kidney, and they run, again, they're retroperitoneal. They run behind the peritoneum. They move urine via peristaltic waves from the kidneys to the bladder. So here you can see the kidney, and there you can see back here the ureter on each side coming out, that renal hilum. The ureter then moves into the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder then, and so here you can see the ureter again. We have a little hole here and a hole here at the base of the bladder where the ureter releases urine into that region. And then we have the opening here for the urethra. The urinary bladder then is a smooth muscular sac that it functions in holding urine. It's basically a holding sac until we are ready to release the urine. So at the base of that urinary bladder, we have a structure called the trigon, which is a region, or which are the three openings into the urinary bladder. Two of them are for where the ureters move fluid into the bladder, and then the third is the opening to the urethra. And so again, here's that trigon, the two ureters and the urethral openings here, and the urethral opening there. You can say it that way too. But the three openings make that trigon at the base of the bladder. So this is the urethra. Right here, if in a male, we would also have surrounding that urethra here, we would have a prostate. So the prostate has a major function in the reproductive system. And then it can cause some problems with urination because if that prostate enlarges, that can cause their urethral opening, this opening here, to be compressed. So it's important to understand where the prostate is located. There are three smooth muscle layers surrounding the bladder called the detrusor muscle. The internal urethral sphincter is also composed of that same smooth muscle called the detrusor muscle. And the smooth muscle helps to keep or helps to maintain the pressure in the bladder, allows for expansion, but still helps maintain that pressure so that the bladder walls don't just break. And then, of course, if you remember from back in chapter 4, I believe it's 4, we talked about tissues, and one of those tissues was called transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium is a stratified epithelium that surrounds our bladder and the ureters. Hold on one second while my dog decides to bark. Hey, Dudley, it's okay. That's my dud. The transitional epithelium functions in allowing for stretching. So it also helps in maintaining bladder shape, but it allows for stretching. Oh, sorry. So in general, our bladder can hold or typically holds about 500 milliliters of urine before we have the urge to urinate, but it can hold close to a liter of urine. So here you can see urine in the bladder wall. Um, if urine is in the bladder, then after about 500 milliliters have been released into the bladder, we're going to have that urge to urinate. And then we're going to pee, okay? If we don't pee, then we're going to allow more urine to fill in, and eventually we're going to get that urge to pee again. And then again, we'll pee. Or if we don't, we'll hold it some more. But once we have approximately a liter of urine in our bladder, we can no longer hold that urine, and we're going to have to release it. So the urethra then is a thin tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. In females, it only carries urine, but in males, it carries urine and sperm. And there are two sphincters that surround the urethra. At the base of the bladder, the detrusor muscle actually makes an internal urethral sphincter. This sphincter is controlled by our autonomic nervous system. When it releases, that's when we have a desire to urinate, and we can physically release our external urethral sphincter, which is composed of skeletal muscle. So this is a voluntary activity, which we typically learn anywhere between age of 18 months to about 4 years old. And that is just a learned process of being able to hold your urine. And again, here's that urethra right here. In females, the urethra is very short, and it's located in that same region by the vagina. So that's that's the urethral opening. In males, the urethra opens up at the base of the penis, or not the base, at the end of the penis. The urethra is much longer. You have a prostatic, a membranous, and a spongy urethra. The prostatic urethra is the urethra at the base of the bladder where that prostate surrounds. And that's the region that sometimes causes problems in males as they age. And so here you can see the external urethral sphincter here, and then an internal urethral sphincter would be way up here, made up of that detrusor muscle. So voiding is termed, or I should say micturition is the term for urinating or voiding. The two sphincters control voiding. Anytime we have urine in our bladder, we get a desire to urinate. So if we have about 200 milliliters, we'll have an impulse to urinate, but we don't always have to go to the bathroom. We can wait. And then once a little bit more urine is added, we'll get that impulse again until we finally urinate. If the impulse is too strong, then we have to urinate, and we can voluntarily release our external urethral sphincter once we get to the bathroom. So at this point, you should be able to tell me what the function of the ureters are, where ureters are located, what the function of the bladder is, and what the trigon is, what muscle makes up the smooth muscle of the bladder, how much urine the urinary bladder can hold, how much does it typically hold, what is a urethra, what is the function of the urethra in males and in females, how many sphincters control the release of urine, how long is the female urethra, how long is the male urethra, what are the parts of the male urethra, and what is micturition. I'm going to stop here, and I'll get the next video started shortly. Bye.